Zero pollution means to me that we use science, technology, and policy to design and apply chemicals and materials that are safe and effective from their cradle to their grave. So we're essentially designing our future so that we can minimize the amount of pollution that impacts health and ecosystems. I'm a health scientist by training, but I also have training in pollution prevention and public policy. So the way I like to think about problems is we spend way too much time studying problems to death without really linking it to the prevention strategies to avoid those problems in the first place. So I spend a lot of my time working in the fields of alternatives assessment and green chemistry. So rather than use our science, our health sciences, to figure out how bad it is, when we have evidence that a chemical or material might be dangerous, we should use that science and leverage it to both design and evaluate safe and effective alternatives that can meet functional needs without the impacts. So really shifting the way we think about the science from a science of problems to a science of solutions. What I really like about the ZeroPM project is it isn't just about developing the new approaches to evaluate persistent mobile toxics, but really linking it back to the alternatives assessment processes and concepts like essential uses so that we can then use that science to bring it forward to thinking about what do better, safer, more effective alternatives look like. Importantly for this project, which I haven't seen yet, is getting scientists, or engineers, chemists, and others into the picture, because ultimately as health scientists we can study the problems, but if we're not educating a new generation of chemists, engineers, designers to think differently at the design phase and to leverage our science to help design their future materials, we're going to be stuck. So we need to think about, in this project, how do we drive better solutions and address the barriers to those solutions at scale.
To me, zero pollution is about that the emissions that comes from all the human activities, that they do not increase the risk of harm. And the risk of harm both from current uses, but also past uses, and both from single chemicals and mixtures of chemicals. So I don't think you can say that there's anything such as zero emissions or zero pollution, but it's really about, we don't want it to be so much that our ecosystems and biota cannot cope with it. Yes, so right now I'm back in research. I work as an analytical chemist. I do analysis of suspect screening and non-targeted screening for emerging contaminants, but I'm also interested in group methods that can detect the larger group of substances. So I think really that this group of substances, the persistent and mobile, have been understudied, and that's part of my work right now. However, I'm also linked to the, I've been working on the ZeroPM topics, such as safe and sustainable by design, and also in bringing knowledge about persistent and mobile by the time I was in the European Environment Agency, and very heavily involved in supporting the writing of the chemical strategy for sustainability. And last but not least, I also experienced how the lack of data was affecting the decision processes, because when you don't have the evidence, it's very hard to take decisions. And I was involved on the information platform of chemical monitoring for the environmental module, and I can see that we really lack data for persistent and mobile compounds. I really hope that ZeroPM will deliver some of the tools for the analysis. It will deliver some of the evidence that I mentioned that we lack, and that this evidence can then be used to assess whether regulations are effective or they need to be improved. I also expect that ZeroPM will deliver something to the safe and sustainable by design in delivering methods, so we can test whether the criteria, how they should be designed, which test methods can you use for assessing the claims of something that's safe and sustainable by design. And all of this, I hope, will increase the implementability of the criteria that now are under the CLP. And finally, I hope that ZeroPM will raise the discussions on how chemicals may be risky to use, not just based on the single compound, but also on the degradation products along the whole life cycle.
ZeroPM, Zero Pollution of Persistent and Mobile Substances. This project has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Programme under grant agreement number 101036756.